Hello, brothers and sisters. God spoke to me today with a word, through His word, and with a short vision. I'm going to try and relay that to you. You know, I told you a while back that God took me up in the rapture, and He told me that time as we know it is up. That every second, every minute, every hour, and every day was by His grace alone. And then when I pressed Him on it, and I asked Him to give me, more confirmation, He showed me several times in His Word, over and over and over again, and then He even gave me the year 5777. I have not pressed Him to narrow that date at all, but today He showed me something that was really interesting. Now, I'm a man in authority, and when I tell people to do stuff, they do it. I teach the master instructors that teach the instructors that teach the color belt students, the lower belt students. And sometimes when I'm teaching them something new, something very advanced, something I know they're not going to be able to do, I will show them something else to develop the muscle structure and the muscle memory recall, so that when I get around to showing them that thing, they can do it. And they question me, why am I doing this? This is weird. How does this apply to what we're doing? I have to just tell them sometimes, because they don't understand where I'm going with it. Just trust me. Well, likewise, we need to trust our Father, because He will not put anything on us that we are not able to handle. You see, I'm going through a trial right now, the likes of which I've never gone through before. The last trial I went through was the hardest one I've ever been through, but this one is harder than that. And I didn't think I was going to make it through the last one, but I did. It's like when I send students to tournaments. I don't take a white belt and put him in a black belt division. He's going to get beat up. But I put them in their belt division, and they grow with experience. They get better. So by the time they're black belts, they're able to handle that competition. Well, likewise, our Father is never going to put anything on us that we can't handle. If you are going through a trial, don't look at your Father crying out, why? But think of it like a badge of honor. Your Father thinks so much about you that He's allowing you to go through this. He isn't doing it. He is not doing this thing. He's allowing it to happen to you, because there's a lesson in it somewhere. The Israelites went around that mountain for 40 years before they learned that lesson. You don't want to be like the Israelites. Learn the lesson so you can move on to the next level. So in my Kid Fit camp, I was talking about this Bible verse. The one that goes, no temptation, test, or trial has overtaken you except what's common to man, but God is faithful, and with it He always makes a way of escape. So we were discussing it. I would introduce it on Monday and teach and break it down and just intersect it and divide it up, and we'd all talk about it, and I'd explain it to them. And I was telling them, because so many people have the wrong impression. You hear people say, oh, that was an act of God, or God took this person, or God did that. No, He doesn't. God doesn't do evil. So I was explaining that to them, and I had this little 7-year-old kid raise his hand, and he said to me, he goes, Kwanjanim, let me ask you if I understand what you're saying to me. He said, are you saying that the worst thing God will do to us is not do anything for us? And I paused and just pondered that. And what a brilliant reflection of a 7-year-old kid. So one time when I asked God to give me a sign that the rapture was soon coming, and He showed me, and I just fanned through my Bible, and I stopped to that place where Stephen is being stoned, and he looks up to heaven, and he says, look, I see the Son of God standing at the right hand of the Father. Now I know that's not how Jesus is probably going to come, but when I first heard about the rapture and Jesus coming, that was the vision that I had in my head. That was what God used to show me, to me in my heart, because we're all different, how it was going to look. That we were going to look up, and that I was going to look up, and I was going to see Jesus stand up at the right hand of the Father. And as I was sitting here, I got this vision of Jesus sitting next to the Father on the edge of His seat, ready to go, because He knew at any minute the Father was going to tell Him to go, and He was going to stand up and do it. He's sitting on the edge. He's got His hands on the armrest on the edge of His seat, and He's so excited. He wants to go. He's just ready to go, because He knows at any second the Father's going to tell Him. And this is the word that God put with that vision. I'm going to put my glasses on so I can read it, because my eyesight's not as good as it used to be. Listen to this. And God showed me this 4 times in the last 2 weeks, and I didn't put it together. And it's in Ezekiel chapter 12, and it says, the word of Adonai came to me. He says, human being, don't you have this proverb in the land of Israel? Time keeps passing, and none of the visions are fulfilled. Therefore, tell them that Adonai Elohim says, I will put an end to that proverb. Never again will they use that proverb in Israel. Tell them the time has come for the fulfillment of everything and every vision. There will no longer be empty visions or falsely optimistic divinations in the house of Israel, because I am Adonai. I will speak, and the thing that I said, I will make it happen, and it will be accomplished. It will no longer be delayed. It will no longer be delayed, people. For in your days, your rebellious house, I will speak the word and accomplish it, says Adonai Elohim. And he goes on to say, again, the word of Adonai came to me. Human being, look. People from the house of Israel are saying, the vision he sees concerns the distant future. He is prophesying about a time far off. So this is not about a time far off. Therefore, say to them that Adonai Elohim says, none of my words will be delayed any longer, but the word that I speak will be accomplished, says Adonai Elohim. So I just wanted to share that with you. You know, God bless y'all. I always like to have a little story, and I want to tell a little story about my son Joseph and I, and about the powerful name of Jesus. And in other words, when you're in a situation that is instantaneous, something that happens quickly that you can't control, remember one thing. So my son and I are driving down the freeway. You know, I own this camp, so I've got vans, and we're driving in one of my vans. My son's about 7 years old, and we're driving down the freeway, and we're probably going 55, not speeding or anything, just, you know, average speed. And there's a lot of rain, and the van starts hydroplaning, and we start sliding a little bit sideways. And all of a sudden, I counter steer and try and straighten it up, but it's not responding, which is odd because I'm not going that fast, and there isn't that much water on the road. So I'm really kind of confused, and all of a sudden, it completely goes sideways. I am 90 degrees on the lane. I'm perpendicular to where I'm supposed to be going, and all of a sudden, it starts to tip over. Now, y'all know about vans. They're top heavy. And once the weight ratio passes the midpoint, it's going down. So it starts tipping over, and it gets past the midway point. It's not coming back up. I've lost control of this van. I mean, I know it. And I look at my son, and his eyes are just wide open, and we make eye contact with each other. And the only thing I said was, Jesus! And it was like a hand came down and picked up the van and turned it straight and set it down, and we were driving straight, and we looked at each other. Our eyes were huge. My son's mouth was wide open. He was doing one of these, you know, and people were driving up alongside of us, looking at us with their eyes wide open, like, what just happened? We knew it was God. And I just wanted to encourage you today, when all else fails, when you can't think of anything else, just proclaim the name of Jesus. All right, brothers and sisters, I love y'all. Goodbye.